Grace sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the empty crib in the corner of the room. Her heart ached with a longing she could barely contain. Married for 5 years to Daniel, the love of her life, their marriage was perfect in every way, except for one thing: they had no children. Grace, whispering to herself, I need to save my marriage. I need a child. Daniel's family, particularly his mother, had been pressurizing Grace about having a child. Every visit, every phone call was laced with subtle hints and outright questions. Mother-in-law on the phone. Grace, when are you going to give us a grandchild? Daniel is the only son, you know. Grace, forcing a smile. We are trying, Mama. It will happen soon, by God's grace. After another failed IVF attempt, Grace felt her world closing in. One evening, she sat with her best friend Anita, sharing her frustration. Grace, tear-eyed, I don't know what to do, Anita. I'm so scared of losing Daniel. Have you thought about surrogacy? I mean, if you need someone you trust, I could help. Grace was stunned by Anita's offer. It seemed like the perfect solution to her problem, but the idea of asking her best friend to carry her child felt like crossing a line. Are you sure, Anita? Grace asked. It's a lot to ask. Anita smiled warmly. Grace, I will do anything for you. Besides, what are friends for? That night, Grace broke the subject to Daniel. Grace was nervous. Daniel, I've been thinking, what if we considered surrogacy? And what if Anita could be our surrogate? Daniel was surprised. Anita, your best friend? Yes, Grace answered. She offered, and I trust her completely. After days of discussing and weighing the pros and cons, Daniel and Grace agreed to the surrogacy plan with Anita. It seemed like the answer to their prayers. Daniel, holding Grace's hand, if this is what you want, Grace, let's do it. I just want you to be happy. Grace and Anita met with a lawyer to draw up the necessary legal documents. Everything was arranged professionally, and the process began. The lawyer spoke. This agreement ensures that the child will be legally yours, Grace and Daniel. Anita, nodding her head, of course, I just want to help my friend. The day of the embryo transfer was filled with nervous excitement. Grace couldn't believe that soon she would have a baby to call her own. Grace, squeezing Anita's hand. Thank you, Anita. I can't tell you how much this means to me. Anita smiled. Anything for you, my friend. As the weeks passed, Grace was on edge, waiting for the news. When the call finally came that Anita was pregnant, she broke down in tears of relief and joy. Grace, crying onto the phone, Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. As Anita's pregnancy progressed, Grace was by her side every step of the way, attending doctor's appointments and preparing for the baby's arrival. Grace, excitedly, I can't wait to meet our baby. This is really happening. Anita, with a strange smile, said, Yes, it is. As Anita's belly grew, so did her demands. She began to ask for more money, special treatments, and gifts. Anita said casually, I think I need a vacation, Grace. This pregnancy is really tiring me out. Grace was taken aback. A vacation? But the baby. Daniel noticed the changes in Anita's behavior first and warned Grace. Daniel, looking concerned. Grace, something is off with Anita. She is acting different. Grace dismissed it. She's just under a lot of pressure. You know she's carrying our baby after all. One evening, Anita called Grace to meet her at a cafe. Her appearance was cold and calculating. Anita, speaking to Grace, I've been thinking, maybe I should keep this baby. After all, I'm the one carrying it. What? Grace was shocked. What? Anita, you can't be serious. Anita, smiling, unless you give me something in return. Anita demanded an exorbitant amount of money to hand over the baby after birth. Grace was stunned and devastated. Grace pleading with Anita, please, don't do this. We had an agreement. Anita coldly said, agreement can be changed, Grace. Grace didn't know what to do. She met with Daniel in secret to discuss Anita's demands. Daniel was angry. This is blackmail. We need to go to the police. Grace, shaking her head. No, I can't risk losing the baby. We have to find another way. Grace reluctantly agreed to give Anita the money, hoping it would be the end of the blackmail. But deep down, she feared it was just the beginning. Grace, handing over the money to Anita. Here, take it. But please don't do anything to hurt the child. Anita smiled. Don't worry, Grace. I've got everything under control. Despite the tension, Grace decided to throw a baby shower for Anita, hoping to keep up appearances and avoid suspicion from Daniel's family. A friend talking to Grace. Grace, this is such a beautiful shower. You must be so excited. Grace, forcing a smile. Yes, I'm very excited. Anita's demands became more frequent and outrageous, leaving Grace feeling trapped and desperate. One day, Anita called. I have decided I want the house in Lekki. Transfer the deeds into my name or else. Grace cried. Anita, please, don't do this to me. The stress took a toll on Grace, and she began to withdraw from her friends and family. Daniel grew more concerned as he noticed her deteriorating state. Daniel, looking worried. Grace, you're not yourself. What is going on? Grace said, I'm just overwhelmed, that's all. Grace finally confided in her old friend Sarah about what was happening. Sarah was horrified and urged her to take action. You can't let her go away with this, Grace. She's taking advantage of you. Grace started sobbing, but I don't know what to do. Sarah suggested a plan to expose Anita and stop her blackmail, but it was risky and could backfire. Sarah, looking very determined. We have to record her, get her to admit what she's doing, and then we'll go to the police. Grace was nervous. What if she finds out? I can't lose the baby, Sarah. Grace, with Sarah's help, secretly recorded next conversation with Anita, hoping to catch her in the act of blackmail. Anita called one day. I want a new car by the end of the week, or you will never see this baby. Grace answered quietly, "Okay, I will do it." With the evidence in hand, Grace confronted Anita, hoping to scare her into backing down. Grace, showing this recording to Anita. "I have everything on tape, Anita. If you don't stop, I will take this to the police."
Anita laughed.
"You think that's going to stop me? Go ahead and try." Anita, not scared by the threat, turned the tables to Grace, threatening to tell Daniel about the blackmail and painting Grace as the villain. Anita started laughing. "I will tell Daniel that you've been paying me off. Who do you think he will believe?" Grace started panicking. "Anita, you wouldn't dare." Grace felt trapped. She began to consider leaving everything behind. The marriage, the baby, even Daniel. The situation was becoming unbearable. Grace started crying. "Sarah, maybe it's better if I just leave. I don't think I can take this anymore." Sarah comforting her. "No, Grace, you can't let Anita win. We will figure this out together." Sarah convinced Grace to seek legal advice. They met with a lawyer who specialized in family law and surrogacy agreement. The lawyer speaking. "From what you've told me, Anita is in clear violation of your agreement. We can pursue legal action, but it will be a tough battle." Grace, looking worried. "I am scared of what she might do." Just as Grace was weighing her options, Anita made an unexpected offer. She would leave the country with the baby if Grace refused to pay her a huge amount of money. Anita, talking to Grace on the phone, "Give me what I want, or you will never see this baby again. It's your choice." Grace crying, "You're not taking my baby." Unable to keep it from Daniel, Grace decided to tell Daniel everything. She was terrified of his reaction, but knew she had no other choice. Grace, talking to her husband, "Daniel, there's something I need to tell you." Daniel, looking shocked. "So you've been dealing with this all this while? Why didn't you come to me sooner?" Daniel was furious, not just with Anita, but also with himself, for not noticing what Grace was going through. He decided it was time to confront Anita. Daniel was angry. "We are putting an end to this now. She won't get away with it." Grace, feeling relieved. "I'm so glad you're with me on this." Daniel and Grace met with Anita in a public place to confront her. They brought along their lawyer, who laid out the legal consequences of her actions. The lawyer, talking to Anita, "We have enough evidence to take you to court. This is your last chance to back off."
Anita laughed.
"You think you can scare me? You will regret this." Anita, knowing that she has been cornered, made a desperate gamble. She threatened to go public with the story, hoping to humiliate Grace and Daniel into submission. "If I go down, I am taking you both with me. I will ruin your reputations," Anita threatened. Grace, calmly, "Do what you have to do, Anita. We are not backing down." The case went to court, and the media quickly picked up on the drama. Grace and Daniel found themselves in the spotlight, but they were determined to see it through. The judge, sternly speaking, "This court will not tolerate blackmail or breach of contract. We will hear both sides and decide accordingly." Anita, speaking, "You can't take my child away from me." As the case unfolded, Public opinion was divided. Some sympathized with Grace, while others viewed Anita as a victim. The pressure weighed heavily on everyone involved. The case has sparked a national debate on surrogacy, with opinions sharply divided. Sarah, talking to Grace, "Don't listen to the noise, Grace. Focus on what is right." In a dramatic tone, a former friend of Anita came forward with information that shocked everyone. She revealed that Anita had planned the blackmail all along. The witness speaking, "She told me she was going to use the baby to get money from Grace. It was all set up." Grace was shocked. "I can't believe she would do this to me." After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the judge delivered the verdict. Anita was found guilty of blackmail and breach of contract, and Grace and Daniel were granted full custody of the baby. The judge speaking, "The court finds in favor of the plaintiffs, Grace and Daniel. The child will be returned to their custody immediately." Anita screamed, "This isn't over." With the court case behind them, Grace and Daniel began the process of rebuilding their lives. They were finally able to bring their baby home. "I can't believe it's over." Grace holding the baby. "We are finally a family. We have been through so much, but we are stronger for it." Anita's life fell apart after the court case. She lost her job, her reputation, and most of her friends. The consequences of her actions were severe. Anita cried bitterly. "They took everything from me." Anita's friend told her, "You did this to yourself, Anita." Grace and Daniel decided to move to a new city to start afresh, away from the memories of the past. They were determined to focus on their family and their future. Grace, packing their boxes. "It's time for a new chapter. I want us to be happy, Daniel." Daniel nodded. "We deserve it, Grace." As they settled into their new home, Grace and Daniel took time to heal from the ordeal. They attended counseling sessions together and grew even closer. The counselor, "It is important to acknowledge the pain you've been through and work through it together." Grace, speaking tearfully, "I never want us to be that vulnerable again." Rebuilding trust was a slow process, but Daniel and Grace were committed to each other. They worked on their communication and made sure to prioritize their relationship. Daniel, holding Grace's hand, "We've been through a lot, but I'm glad we are here now." Grace smiled. "Me too, Daniel. We are stronger than ever." Parenthood brought new challenges, but also immense joy. Grace and Daniel embraced every moment, grateful for the family they had fought so hard for. Grace, looking at the baby, "Look, Daniel, he is growing so fast." Daniel proudly said, "He is our little miracle." Grace struggled with the idea of forgiving Anita, but with time she realized that holding on to anger was only hurting her. She decided to let go and move on. Grace, talking to Sarah, "I don't have to forget what she did, but I can forgive and find peace." Sarah responded, "That's the right choice, Grace. You deserve to be free from the past." Years passed. Anita reached out to Grace with an apology. She was a shadow of her former self, humbled by the consequences of her actions. Anita speaking softly to Grace, "I am sorry, Grace. I was wrong, and I have paid the price." Grace, responding calmly, "I forgive you, Anita. I hope you find peace. Grace and Daniel's family continued to grow, and their home was filled with love and laughter. They often reflected on the journey that had brought them together. Grace, smiling, "We've been through a lot, Daniel, but look at us now. We have everything we ever wanted." Daniel nodded, "And we are stronger for it." The story of Grace and Daniel and Anita is a reminder of the importance of trust, honesty, and resilience in the face of adversity. It teaches that true friendship is built on selflessness, not exploitation, and that the pursuit of happiness should never come at the cost of integrity. Grace's journey shows that forgiveness and healing are possible even after the deepest betrayals, and that the love of family can overcome even the most difficult challenges.